it does say that one 5-star can cost $475. I'm a YouTuber. I'm gonna use that measurement. So yeah, $20,000 account or something like that. I will be very curious to see how much my account actually is. So the easiest way to see is the character archive, and I guess we will go ahead and start with 1.0. So we have Jean. She's C6. She's been in the game forever. She's C6. Cool. Diluc. He is not. Somehow, my Diluc is only C5, but that is C5, right? That's not bad. I definitely, at this point with the new level 100 system, you want to get as many C6s as possible. Then, we have Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi is obviously C6, and it's important to note that none of the characters that are on the standard banner for 1.0 I have basically built at all. They're just not useful enough, and I just never really cared to ever use them. Kaching here is level 70 at C6. Mona here, great character, you know, I love her. I have her at C0. I've only ever gotten this character from the 5-star selector from last year. Last year, I selected Mona, and I still have not gotten a single Mona from my summons, meaning I legitimately haven't pulled this character in 5 years. So, a little annoying. Also, important to note, I started my account on the 3rd. I'm 2 days late on this, but give me a break. I do have Venti here. I got him on his first rerun, basically, and that's all I got him for. And as soon as I got him, he very much so quickly fell out of meta because they started introducing heavy enemies into Abyss, and this guy just hasn't been useful since. It's just a very sad idea, but, like, there's no time where Venti has ever been useful past his, like, 2.0. Like, I'm be honest, Venti has not been useful on my account past 2.0. And then we have Klee here. She was good when she launched, but I was not under, you know, I was free to play at the time, and by the time she came back, we actually had good DPSs that outclassed her and weren't nearly as clunky from what I've heard, so I'm not going to, you know, summon for Klee, and she's just outdated at this point. Nobody really cares about her. Tartaglia. I skipped this guy because, again, I was still free to play at the time. He comes out, he held on for quite a while, but I was very not a fan of his cooldown mechanic, where if you stay in too long, you just get hurt and it like kills you. It's a very annoying cooldown mechanic. They've never done it since, and they should never do it again. And then we have Zhongli. This was my first limited 5-star. Yes, he was. I got him on his first original banner. I used this guy as my DPS until, all the way until, like, 2.0, even past 2.0, until I got Yoimiya. Like, I got, we'll talk about the other 5-stars I got later on, but until I got Yoimiya, this character was my main DPS and my sustain. It really did help out quite a bit. This guy carried me through basically everything. I have a favor to ask you guys. It Starts in Nodcry has started, and it is the creator incentive program, and if you don't know what that is, it is basically a way for the creators to be rewarded for the content that they make. If you go over here and you go over to Nodcry characters, and you go ahead and search up, you know, at the Genshin Idiot. If you go ahead and search that, you will see that I have a video up here. If you want to go ahead and vote for me, it's how people get chosen for the, you know, creator server. It'd be very much appreciated. It would help me a lot. Thank you guys, and let's get back into the video. Albedo here, I got him on, you know, his rerun with Nilou. He was a double, not a double winner, but he was a reran alongside Nilou, and I did a 10 pull. Haha, I'm gonna, you know, do a 10 pull at the end of his summons, and I got him, and I didn't have any high pity. It was like level 11 pity or something when I got this guy. But yeah, Albedo, I have him. Yeah, he's cool. Ganyu, I got her on her rerun in 2.0 or whatever. I think around when Shinha came out or something. I don't really remember. Oh, 131. I mean, we can actually see she reran right after Shinha had released in 2.4, and I summoned on her apparently. And she was good for a while. I mean, she got even better when Nahida dropped with Burn and stuff. She was good. I never really liked her though. She wasn't really a crazy character for me. Then we could talk about a character I got on his original banner, Zhao. This character, got him on his original banner. His damage felt so bad, and his set was VV plus Gladiator. If this is like, if they released a character like this that came out nowadays, people would hate him. Like, genuinely, this guy didn't have his own artifact set, didn't have any extra crit rate, so you're trying to build this character, and he's just falling apart the entire time. His plunge attack playstyle, burst reliant playstyle, was not as easy to play as it is now, because now we have a whole bunch of anima supports that funnel energy into this guy. He really wasn't a fun character to play, along with the fact that Zhongli's shield, I don't necessarily know if it was pre-buff Zhongli's shield, but when I use Zhao with Zhongli, man, he really, like, Zhao would get hit so much that he would have Zhongli's shield destroyed, which is insane, because even nowadays that's a task. So having Zhao here, he really was like my first main DPS, but I stopped using him very quickly and went back to main DPS Zhongli, just because it was that consistent, that good, and I wasn't trying to beat Spiral Abyss at the time, because I really didn't even have a good enough build to try and beat Spiral Abyss with Zhao either, so I kind of just gave up on him. And then we have Hu Tao here. Now, Hu Tao, I do have Staff of Homa for her. This is the first time, I believe, that I really, second time that I really went in and I was like, all right, let me grab, you know, and the extra upgrade, that C1, that R1. That's the first time I did this, or the second time. This is the second time I did this, and Hu Tao is actually the reason why I started doing the C1 or the R1, and, you know, I grabbed whichever upgrade is better for the character. The reason why I did that is because of Hu Tao mains. They constantly flooded every comment section that had anything to do with Hu Tao. They just flooded the comment section with, I'm gonna get her C1 on her rerun, I'm gonna get Homo on her rerun. So I constantly looked at that and I was like, yeah, that seems to be like a lot of players' perspectives on what they're gonna do for these characters. So I started comparing characters at C1 or R1. And yeah, that is where this started at. And, you know, the true character that I ended up getting is in a minute. But I got this character on her second, or on her first rerun in 2.0. I think it was like a little bit after, it might have been the update before Itto, maybe. Yeah, if we could see, yeah, it would have been the update before Itto, because Itto came out on the 12th, or December. And then Eula. Eula. I got very, you know, people hyped her up quite a lot, and then I used her. I wasn't very impressed. Okay, take a step back. Okay, what are we talking about? What is the issue? And then I was like, all right, artifacts maybe. And then I got completely destroyed on her artifacts the entire time, to the point where I literally quit the game. I literally quit the game because her artifacts were so bad and I couldn't get any better ones. I genuinely said, no, this sucks. And I quit. And then what that caused to happen, and I used DPS Zhongli over her. I used DPS Zhongli over Eula because it just wasn't that strong. Her teams weren't that fluid. It just, overall, Eula was just not a fun character for me to play. So my first two DPSs for the first year of this game were like just trash. I hated both of them. I just, man, yeah, if I had to do that today, man, I feel so bad. But then, you know, that caused me to skip out on Kazuha because, you know, Kazuha was the whole thing. And then he didn't get a rerun until 7/12/2022. What? It is a whole year later. Kazuha didn't get a rerun, and I think it was till the end of 2.0 he didn't get a rerun. I did actually go ahead. So my Kazuha is actually C2 here. So I did, you know, grab C2 on his initial rerun, but I've kind of regretted it ever since, honestly. This C2 is interesting for Flynn's, right? If you've played Flynn's, I would be interested to see what this would do for him, right? I haven't tested, but 200 extra elemental mastery for Flynn's, we'll see. And then also, I did summon on Zypho's Moonlight specifically for Kazuha. That was the entire reason why I got this weapon, and it's been a very, very good weapon ever since. This guy's giving so much energy recharge to the team is just so good. He gives himself a whole bunch of energy recharge for it, right? When you have a whole bunch of EM build on him. Right now, he's missing an artifact. But overall, yeah, Kazuha was a very great addition to the team, or to my account overall. But it had been quite a bit since he came out. It was a whole year after he came out. And then I did get Ayaka on her Eternal Banner. It was great. If you don't remember, COVID happened and China had a massive shutdown. And obviously, because Genshin is, you know, a Chinese company and they operate over there, they were not really able to push updates to the game. So what happened was Ayaka's banner got delayed indefinitely. It was a huge meme when it came out. So with Ayaka, I ended up getting her and her weapon, and that added up to quite a bit, but honestly, we had so much free summons from the extra, like pity, because they were giving you Primo Gems every time, like every week it was delayed or something. But yeah, we got quite a bit of Primo Gems. Ayaka, I summoned on her. She did very well. She was very good when she came out, and when, I actually got her, because I got her on her second rerun, or technically her first rerun, but her second banner. Overall, yeah, I mean, Ayaka's aged very well. Now she has Miss Coffee. They can do very good with each other, but not like a huge fan of Ayaka anymore, though, because she is so burst reliant, and these old burst reliant characters do not have anything to make them up themselves. Like, if you look at Flynn's, a character who's burst reliant, and Varissa, a character who's burst reliant, these characters are like, oh yeah, we're just gonna make sure you have the energy. And Mavuika, who's burst reliant, you just have the energy, right? These characters who are burst reliant are just like, Genshin realized, it's probably more fun for our players if they can use the characters and don't have to worry about specific energy recharge requirements. So, kind of what happened. Genuinely, kind of what we've seen happen now is that bursts just aren't the way to deal damage, and they can do good damage, but if they do good damage, then they're kind of really easy to get. So I think that's kind of a good change that Genshin's made in terms of modern Genshin overall. It just seems a lot better. And then, actually, we're not even gonna go over the character archive, because I did grab Yoimiya, who I loved. This was the character that finally got me off of physical DPS Zhongli, and I did obviously get her weapon. This was the first character I got her weapon for, because I think I just really liked the character, and I was like, all right, with Thundering Pulse is like a 20% increase, because it used to be that only the weapon was like a huge increase, right? C6 was good, right? And, a lot of C6s were good, but they weren't like, oh my god, this character now starts nuking the entire game good, So Yoimiya came out, I got her weapon, I got her, and it was just a very long stint of me using this character as my main DPS. I say very long stint. We'll go into the next one soon enough. But this character for a long time was my character who I love, man. I love this character. A lot of people try to say Hu Tao was way better than her. Just no, it was never really. Well, nowadays it is, but like, just no, not when she came out initially. Yoimiya really wasn't that much difference, right? I think most of the times when I compared the two, it was like a 3-second clear time difference, and overall, like, sure, that's gonna make a difference, but if you like Yoimiya, 3 seconds versus Hu Tao, sure, it can screw you over in Abyss, because at the time that was the best content, or the content that mattered. It can screw you over in Abyss, but the likelihood of it happening, not so much. And overall, I would just say that I think Yoimiya did very well when she came out, and I think people definitely hated on her way too much. Yeah, from using her, she was very good. Using Hu Tao, they seem very similar. Did I show that I had Staff of Homo and Hu Tao, but she was using the catch the entire time? I don't know. I do have Staff of Homa. I forget what weapon I summoned on and got Staff of Homa, like a second copy of Staff of Homa. I really don't remember, but yeah, I do have a second copy of Staff of Homa. And then we got Raiden Shogun. Now, flat out, I was not at all interested in getting this character. What happened? Well, I got her first multi when I summoned. Immediately. You want to know who I was trying to get? Kujosara. I want you to look at this date. Join party 9/12/2021. I want you to look at this date. 10/3/2020, right? And we all know Bennett was in the game at the very launch of the game, right? He was there. He didn't join my party until 12/14/2021. Over a year to get one Bennett. So I, very much so, wanted Kujosara to replace Bennett on a lot of my teams. Now, that never really happened because Kujosara kind of just wasn't really that strong, because her duration was not long. So if you try to put her on a Yoimiya team, it worked, but it wasn't like, nearly as good as Bennett, right? Obviously, you're missing Pyro Resonance and stuff. But as a substitute, I just wanted Kujosara, right? I saw attack buffer and I was like, yes, I want this character. So I was summoning for Kujosara. I got her eventually on Raiden's banner, but it wasn't until 12 days after. So, yeah, it took me a long time to get her. And I don't remember. I think I actually did take It was until Raiden's like next banner, or maybe when did I C2 her? I think I C2'd her on her rerun. Let me see. I know it was a rerun. I know it was a rerun. There is no way in 2.5 right after Ganyu I C2'd Raiden. There is no way. I refuse to believe that. I'm looking at the timeline right now. There's no way in 2.5 I C2'd my Raiden. There's no way. Is there a way? When was Raiden's next banner? 3.3? I did skip Wanderer. I did. I think it was 3.3. And I C2'd my Raiden. Or C3. I C3'd my Raiden. And I also got her signature weapon. So, very good. I got her signature weapon. I got her C3. And this, that held her on for a long time. This character was very usable in 4.0, not so much in 5.0. And then now in 6.0, I would not even consider using her. Because this character, like, I'm using Flynn's now, and it's like, I use Flynn's at C1, and he's like doing an entire Raiden rotation, like just easily. And that's and that's Flynn's with a R1 deathmatch and stuff. Like, yeah. So yeah, Raiden, she loved me, to be honest. I had insane luck on Raiden's banner. Now, sometimes, again, you summon for a 4-star and you get the 5-star on accident. I was summoning for Dory, and I got Kokomi. This has never been an intentional thing that I did. I never wanted this to happen. I did not consent to her showing up on my account. If you know, I had a long feud with Kokomi, so long that it still persists to today, where I will not accept her friendship gift. I'm not doing it. So, she is 999, right? C0, no 5-star weapon. And it's the only time I really found this character to be useful. The only time, right? Seriously useful on my account was Nilou Bloom. That was the only time. We're about to see Nefer, and we'll see if Nilou Bloom catches back up, and maybe Kokomi, we just saw Lauma come out, and she did very well to bring back Kokomi, right? She did very well, but I'm not too interested in using Lauma with Bloom. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's good, but I'm not, hugely a fan of it, right? You get what I'm saying? I'm not oh my god, Lauma, Nilou Bloom, I can't wait to use it, right? It's good when it's specifically hey, use Bloom against me, you're gonna use Lauma Bloom, but I'm not a huge, I love Kokomi, I want to use Kokomi. This character, it's on my account. I could have lived without her or not. I will say, though, original Nilou Bloom is one of my favorite teams in this game. And Kokomi did spearhead that. So I can hate on her as much as I want, but I do have to show she was she did good when she needed to. But don't think that that's because they designed her for Nilou Bloom. You're not getting characters at the beginning of 2.0, 2.1 I think, or 2. Was it 2.1 or 2.2? I don't remember. I think because Itto is 2.4. Itto I think was 2.4. So yeah, Kokomi here. She was never supposed to be on my account. I didn't summon for her intentionally. Yeah, that's about it. Now Itto. Itto is the first character I ever wailed for, right? Itto, my boy, I got his weapon, and I said, screw it. I want his C1. I want his C2. This made my Itto basically king of AoE content for as long as it took, and then Nilou Bloom came out, and it was I still feel like Itto really did well. And even in, it was just mainly single target was where he struggled, right? But if I was going up against small enemies, Itto would just stomp them out, man. There was not even a chance that Itto would not hold him back. And that's crazy because we're talking about swings that hit for 50,000 damage. That's not good. Itto's hitting 50,000 damage. That's not good. That's not good. In terms of actual damage now, we have 500,000 damage Flynn's. Good job. You only did 1.5 million, buddy. You could do a little better. Very well for the time. But he has aged, obviously. And then we have Shinha. I believe I got this character on her first banner because I was genuinely in love with this character. Oh no, I got her on a rerun. Oh. So I must have skipped Shinha. Let me see her original banner. Why did I skip her originally? So 2.4 was Itto. No, 2.3 was Itto? Oh. Okay. 2.3, 2.2 had just rerun. It was just a rerun update with, oh, right. Yeah. It was just a rerun update with only Hu Tao and Tartaglia. Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, nowadays we could never. But yeah, Itto was in 2.3, kind of crazy. But then 2.4, who would I have been? I guess I got Ganyu. I guess it's Ganyu, right? Ganyu would have been the character. Yeah, I got Ganyu. Then they came out with Shinha, and I was like, I don't have enough summons for that. I don't have enough. Or I skipped Shinha for Ganyu because I thought that would be better because I didn't need Shinha to buff Ayaka because, to be honest, Shinha wasn't that, like, insane. You know, like, she was good, but she wasn't, like, it was already, like, Ayaka's already so good, right? It's like adding Mavuika. Like, if Mavuika got a teammate for, like, 10% more damage, but it's a whole 5-star, it's like, you don't really need to summon for that character, right? Like, let's say Bennett gets replaced or Yansan, whoever you're using. Let's say one of those guys gets replaced and it's like a 10% upgrade to her team. You don't really need that character, right? Like, Mavuika's already doing an insane amount of damage. You don't really need Shinha when Ayaka was so good. Ayaka was, I think, probably the best DPS in the game at the time because Freeze was just really OP. But in terms of getting Shinha, yeah, I didn't get Shinha until 3.5. Right before, no, that was a Nilou rerun. Nilou came out fairly recent, yeah, 3.1, fairly early into that. So, kind of crazy. I didn't get Shinha until 3.5. Honestly, 3.5, I feel like she kind of aged. I don't know why I summoned for her in 3.5. Well, I know why. It's because I really like the character overall. And I did actually get Calamity Queller recently, and that was, whose banner was that for? It would have been not a spear character's banner, but I did get Calamity Queller very recently. Was it Miss Coffee's banner? No, I wouldn't have summoned on Miss Coffee's weapon. It was Skirk's weapon banner. That's why I got it. Yeah, Skirk's weapon banner. I summoned for Skirk's weapon, and I got Calamity Queller actually for her. So, you know, that ended up increasing our, you know, overall value of Shinha pretty nicely. And then I've skipped Yoimiya, right? So then now we have 2 more characters that I've skipped. You know, I did have a good chunk of all the 2.0 characters because the reruns came in, and I was like, yeah, I like the character. Yoimiya, I tried to get her. I got a Jean, and then I kind of just haven't really had a need for her because she's not really a standout 5-star. This character, you can use Fischl, and she kind of just did the same, like, idea there. And even some people will argue that Fischl is better than Yoimiya, so it's a little bit of I just don't really care about this character. Simple as that. I think that's kind of just what it is. And then Ayato, kind of the same. I mean, especially now, I don't need a Hydra DPS. Ayato, I think I wanted him, but then I just don't like his design with this suit that has, like, these drapes on it. That's not really my cup of tea. I don't really like his suit design. But other than that, yeah, there's no real reasons why I would have, you know, skipped Ayato. I don't think he wasn't great, but he wasn't bad, right? Like, he wasn't, you know, whatever. And then Yelan, I did actually skip Yelan because I was summoning on Kazuha. And so yeah, I skipped Yelan, summoned on Kazuha. And yeah, then I, you know, I feel like it was very recently. I feel like my summoning for, I guess 3.4 is when I summoned for Yelan. Have I had Staff of Homa R2 that long? 3.4, I summoned on Yelan, and I got Aqua Simulacra for her also, because I really like the character. I was very sad that I skipped out on her to get C2 Kazuha, and seeing how useless C2 Kazuha was, I really do feel like I wish I got, you know, Yelan instead of C2 Kazuha. And Yelan, again, I really like her. She's not useful now, but, like, she was very useful for the, like, foreseeable, like, until basically nowadays, where it's like, oh yeah, now you want Hydra application, which also, I think Columbina is going to have Xingqiu level Hydra application. If you look at the teams, it really feels like they want as much Hydra application as possible. 3 versions of Columbina at that point. But Yelan was a very hype character for me. I did get Aqua Simulacra, and in fact, just recently, I got another Aqua Simulacra, which I don't know what I want to do with, if I can find Yelan. And I did get Aqua Simulacra for it. Now, I don't know what I want to do with this weapon, because the thing is, I could get Aqua Simulacra here and raise it to 90 for Yelan and have 1 for Chaska and 1 for Yelan, because a thing is, I have really been swapping between Aqua Simulacra for my Chaska and Yelan constantly, and it's been an issue. However, Yelan, most of the time when I'm using her now, it's in Stygian. If I really am, like, you know, I want to try out some Hydra teams and I've already used, like, Xingqiu, Furina or something, right? If I'm really that desperate for, like, Hydro, it is Yelan who I go to, and it's Favonius Warbow that I need for her energy. So I don't need this Aqua Simulacra that much. it's a little tough to decide what I'm going to do with it. So now we have Tignari for the 3.0 characters. He is also C5. I wish I could get him C6, because then there's I feel like he can still be somewhat good, at C6, depending on what kind of supports he gets, because right now he would have to have Electro and stuff, and maybe you do a Hyper Bloom team with him, and then you just have this on the side. Who knows? But he's C5. I get another one of them, and then I can, get more resources for level 100 characters. We'll see. And then we have Sinnoh. He's C0. I've regretted summoning for this character ever since. This character, by far, is the biggest disappointment I think I've ever summoned for, because he is just... I used him, and it's like, you suck. I've never, really used a character. I can be disappointed in Flynn's and how he performs at C0, R0, right? I can be disappointed in that, but then, I compare characters with their weapon or their C1. Even if I gave Sinnoh his weapon, he would still suck. It's just a fact of life. It sadly is. I really don't get how this guy came out. And then, 3.0 was a weird time for them. It was a huge time, because they really did, create two subsets of characters that were just you're either insanely mid or you're a god. Genuinely, Nilou comes out and it's put her in AoE. Put her in AoE, you won. Now, coming over to Nilou here, she does, in fact, have her signature weapon. I'm going to go ahead and give that back to her. But yeah, she does have her signature weapon. This is when I got my first copy of Zyphos, I believe. And then also, I think I got Primordial Jade Wing, or Jade Cutter. And that's how I got this weapon also. Not really a huge thing. I got Haran at some point. I don't remember when. I guess I'll talk about that. I got it. Might have been with Nilou's weapon. But I did get Nilou on her first rerun, so it was very nice overall. I think this was a very good thing. Why is this leveled up? What was the point of this? Oh, all right. I probably did a showcase with her. Yeah. Nilou's always been a pretty good character overall. I've not really, the issue is she aged very poorly, and she didn't have really Hydro characters and Dendro characters that aged better. If she got a really good main DPS on her team that aged with her, would have been nice. If Kanich wasn't tied to burn, it would have been very incredible. If he was just do Dendro reactions, he would have been very good for Nilou's team, and Nilou's team could have been meta for 5.0, but it wasn't. And now we have Lauma, who is also buffing Nilou Bloom even more, and we'll see what Never does for it, but we'll see. So yeah, let's get into the next character. Then we have Nahida. Now, this character I summoned for on release, obviously. Just one of the best characters to ever be in Genshin Impact. If you didn't have Nahida, the amount of, you just lost. You didn't lose, but, you were out 250 Elemental Mastery, when Elemental Mastery is probably the most important it ever will be and ever was. Because we're talking about reaction teams that if you just had as much EM as possible, that was all you needed for the team. If you just had as much EM on every single Nilou team character, right? That's all you needed. That's all. And Nahida was just 250 of the one stat you need? Good job. Imagine if, we got a character nowadays that gave us EM, crit damage, crit rate, attack percent, right? If we got, something like that. Imagine that. That's what Nahida basically did. She was all right, guys, here you go. Here's the one stat you need at 250 of it. So probably a quarter of what anybody actually has. Because 1,000 Elemental Mastery was kind of the upper limit at that point in terms of what you would realistically have. And you could even get more if you used her weapon, giving, the teammates 40 Elemental Mastery. It was just overall insane. And then we have Wanderer. Now, Wanderer I skipped because I'm not a fan of Scaramouche at all. I was never really a fan. I think his hat is ridiculous. He's not intimidating. He's not, it's just whatever. And he just kind of became an edgy kid. Not my cup of tea. Now, Alhaitham. A character I regretted skipping the first time. I do. I think I skipped him for Raiden or something. It was I summoned on C3 Raiden. I was I want this character. And then Alhaitham came out afterwards, and it was I don't have enough summons for that. So kind of where we ended up there. That's just kind of where we ended up with. I don't think I was earning money from YouTube at all the entire time I did 3.0. I think it wasn't until 4.0 that I started re-earning money from YouTube. So yeah, because I started it, then they suspended it for a little bit because because I needed to verify something, and I was just like, I'll do it later. And it took me like a year to do it later. And now we can talk about Dea, who is a character that obviously she came out and everybody hated. I have her at C1. That's all we need to know. That's all we need to discuss. Like, genuinely, I didn't summon her on her original banner. I just let the 50-50 take her to me. I think I got her pretty recent, like pretty close to when she actually came out. Yeah, you can, well, it's a year later almost, probably, since Nahida. Probably a little later, yeah. Wasn't really big of an issue, though, because Dea was kind of bad. And then I skipped Baiju because he really wasn't that good when he came out. Like, oh, he's good for Sinnoh, guys. I already discussed that Sinnoh was like my most disappointing character to ever release, because like this guy had such cool animations too, but he sucked. So I didn't get Baiju intentionally. And Lenny, I'm just not a fan of his design, you know, his whole like trap outfit, you know, I don't know, I don't really, I'm not a fan. And then overall, Fontaine wasn't that exciting for me, if I'm being entirely honest. It wasn't until Wriothesley and Neuvillette came out that I was like, oh, Fontaine's actually, it has it in it. It has like hype in it. Oh, okay. Like, Lenny was just like it was the issue with Furina. It was like, there was no emotion towards them at all. Furina, it wasn't good. But with Lenny, it's like, cool magician man. I don't really care, right? It's not, like, it's the same thing with Lauma. It's like, cool deer lady. Don't really care. And then Flynn's obviously, this guy looks insane, and he has insane animations and stuff, and I love him. But Liddy didn't really have anything insane animation-wise or anything. And then, yeah, we could just go on to the next character, Nevi. This guy, I didn't look at his animations at all. I didn't see the Genshin live stream where they showed his animations. I used him, and he just did a Kamehameha. And I was like, oh, I was planning on saving for Wriothesley. But you just fire a Kamehameha, huh? And keep in mind, this was before Furina came out, so he didn't realize how good his C1 was going to be. So, I ended up getting his weapon, which I do regret doing. I wish I had gotten his C1 instead. However, his weapon came into like 30 pulls. I had really insane luck on the weapon banner back then. Don't ask me why, but with both Nevi and Wriothesley, I was like, give me their weapon, and then the weapon banner just gave it to me. So yeah, it was really, really easy, and my weapon banner luck was really good back then. So yeah, Nevi, I love him. I've still used him. He's probably the best summon choice anybody has ever made. Like, if you got him on his original banner, you've had a good DPS for 2 years almost. You know, 9/26/2023. Like, that's 2 years of usage that he's had now. And then Wriothesley came out, and I had probably my best summon luck ever. I think what happened was I got Wriothesley, and I was like, all right, C1 R1 is what happened. I got him C1 R1. And then I did 2 multi-summons after, C2 and then C3, immediately after. Very, very insane. Like, this character can do like a 3 million damage rotation if you use Mavwika with him. It's just a very stupid character, right? 3 million damage rotation and, like, you know, not 16 seconds because Mavwika burst cooldown is like 18. So 18 second over 3 million. You know, he can do very, very strong damage numbers if you have his constellations. He can be, like, he's even better than my Flynn's at his level. Wriothesley C3R1 versus my C1R1 Flynn's is better. Simply better. I think that is with the C2 Mavwika, though. So, like, it's a huge investment curve, right? But Wriothesley does have that dog in him if you unleash it, right? But yeah, this character was my favorite design from Fontaine, and it still is, but they killed his gameplay, man. Like, they really, really hurt him by just not giving him enough power at his lower investment levels. So that ended up really hurting him. And then we have Flynn's here, who kind of suffers from the same issue, right? At low investment levels, his C1R1 makes him feel strong, but he still doesn't do utterly insane damage, right? He does 130,000 damage rotation, like, DPS. But, like, Verissa is a direct competitor, and they play exactly the same, it feels like. So it's a big issue, you know? Like, it's a real big issue of, like, Verissa, I love you, but, like, you're the same as, my guy. Like, you're the same. So it's really hard to be, like, super excited with Flynn's when he's not really that much better than Verissa, and I don't even know if he is better than Verissa, honestly. With Columbina, he will be. He will be absolutely better than Verissa. All right, now we have Furina, who I got on her original banner, obviously. I had to. She was the Archon. I had to. And then on her rerun, I actually ended up getting C1, which did just very okay constellation. Honestly, when using it, I don't really think I was like blown away. I think it was probably the thought that I was probably left with this constellation was like, wish I got like someone else's C1. Like genuinely, I think it was like, wish I got like Nevi C1 or Arlecchino C2 or something like that, right? Because this was after Arlecchino had released, and we'll get into her in a minute. But yeah, I think I was very much so like, Furina, I kind of wish I didn't get that constellation and got a constellation for one of the better DPSs anyways. Navia, a character that I wish I didn't keep skipping, because I feel like in her prime, she would have been a very fun character for me to use and a very good character for me to make videos on. However, I didn't really get her, right? I was just bad timing. I wasn't, I didn't, say, hey, I'm getting every character now. It wasn't a thing that I was doing. So yeah, I ended up skipping her and not getting her. Sinyun, this was a huge character that I was like, I needed to summon on, not because of how strong she was, but because I didn't know how strong she was, and I wanted to see it firsthand, right? I didn't want people telling me, oh, this character is so strong or this character is so mid, because you look at her on paper, she can be really bad, right? She can end up being just a healer. But in practicality, the amount of pyro DPS characters that were a part of the game and got better, and then that also therefore made Furina better. I mean, Furina, the main issue I had with this character was that she needed actual healers that didn't just heal. Because an issue that you would see, because I wasn't like so, like, I wasn't thinking about this at the time with her C1 giving constant damage bonus, but Furina here came out and really all she had was a couple supporters that healed. And when we're talking about, oh, she gives 100% damage bonus or 75% damage bonus and some off-field damage, which at the time we kind of a little bit hard to see how much off-field damage. I wasn't really like looking too much into it, but she did off-field damage, right? And it was good off-field damage for what it was at the time. Now it's kind of low, when you consider Mavuika doing how much damage she does. But at the time, Furina was doing good off-field damage. So what I would look at and I would be like, well, if you don't get a healer on your team, you're getting no value from this, right? You're getting no value from this. And then what is she providing that Yelan can't? Because Yelan is also giving 40% damage bonus, right, to the active character. And she's also doing off-field damage. So it's like, it's a little bit of, well, what do we do here? And that was a big issue I had with Furina. Sinyun came out and was like, okay, I got you, Furina. Like, she literally, it was literally the what really like allowed Furina to sprawl out and really buff a lot of the game. What this did was basically make every pyro character very good with Furina, because every pyro character beyond Yoimiya was basically better on the plunge team with Furina using Sinyun and then someone else, right? And then Bennett or something, right? You use that team, and that allowed Furina to buff the pyro characters, apply Hydro for the pyro characters. It really did help her out quite a lot. Shiori was a massive disappointment on her release. Simple as that. She was not doing nearly enough damage to be used. I just do not see a reason why I was ever going to ever get this character. You could talk about wheelchair impact, but she just doesn't do enough damage off field to actually make that a serious thing that I would want to try, comparatively to, oh, let me just get a DPS, right? Shiori was a huge, just what I was looking for when Shiori released was something to make Itto better, because Itto, just like Yoimiya, had been forgotten to time. Like, these characters were not being buffed, and Yoimiya still struggles to get an actual buff. I think Inefa might have buffed her, but it really does suck to see that Yoimiya had been left in the dust for so long, and Itto the same. So I was really looking for an Itto buff, and when I saw that Shiori really wasn't that much of an Itto buff, at best she was a slight increase, I didn't really care for her. I didn't really want to summon for her. Simple as that. So I got Arlecchino, and Arlecchino, oh boy. I really do like this character. When she came out, she not even when she came out, she has the best pyro effects in the game by far. She has a scythe, which is insane, and I mean, so this character has the best pyro effects in the game by far. I mean, this is like truly, man, when I saw that, and when I saw her burst animation, which sadly you never really used, they have given, like, Genshin needs to get their priorities straight, because they've given so many characters who do not want to use their burst a insane burst animation. Like, you give Arlecchino some insane burst animation that looks like this. This was the de facto best burst animation in the game. There wasn't even a second option for it. This was just the best in the game. There's no character even came close to how good Arlecchino's burst animation looked, and you didn't want to use it. So kind of sucked, but still, she had the best pyro effects in the game by far. Overall. And I ended up getting her C1 and R1. R1 mainly for the looks of the scythe, because obviously the scythe looks insane. I mean, you just show. I mean, look at it. It looks beautiful, man. It really, if they ever do buff characters, like genuinely go back and buff old characters, I hope they make Arlecchino just as good as she was when she launched. Because if they do, that will truly, like, I think so many people will be happy. Because Arlecchino has to be probably the most popular Fatui Harbinger. And then while I was summoning for Chevy cons, because I was like, I'm just gonna keep summoning whatever, I did actually get a C2 Arlecchino, which I hate. The reason why I hate it is because it screws up melt rotations quite often, unless you do a specific way of, like, oh, E-skill, then immediately, absorb it, or, hit him with a pyro scythe immediately, and then have your E-skill pop later and do its damage. This really, as strong as it is, it's not worth it. It's not worth getting, oh, wow, she got 700,000 extra damage on her rotation. It's not worth it. It really isn't. I really do wish that I had just turn off the hit, give me the extra defense properties, right? I do wish cons were toggleable, because then I would toggle this off a lot, and this made me stop using my Arlecchino quite a bit. I will say that. Although Mavwika also did do that. Because now with, Stiggy and Mavwika's taking C Lolly, and then I'm left with, Vape, which isn't insane, but it's not bad. Chloride, I just got this character because, people were talking about him. She was a popular character. I wanted to test her out, see how good she was. I was not really that amazed with her, and I'm still not, right? I don't have, like, the best build for her. It's just not a character that I was super hyped for. I mainly summoned it for YouTube. Overall, she looked good, did some summons, whatever. Sejuine, I skipped because she was a character that was meh. Not even that good when she launched, and she's only aged worse and worse every single day. Not really much else to talk about. Emily, character talked up to be amazing. We're gonna get more burn teams. We're gonna be great. She quickly aged by showing that Kinich, the DPS that she was designed for, did not necessarily care about having her on her team. Kinich didn't really care about having her on his team and could easily just use Furina instead. And now you can even just use Bennett, Eon-san, and Mavwika as his entire team, and you really won't notice the difference between Emily. Sadly, that is just the way that Emily is. She is a very sad character to have released, and we do now see better versions of Emily coming out, whether for the worse or for the better, we'll see. Specifically, if you're someone who spends money on the game, it's better for you, right? And it's better for me that these supports are actually, overall better for these specific characters, because, hey, if you're going to make a dedicated support for a specific character, make them better, because I don't want to have a 10%, or a less than 10% loss from removing this specific 5-star that I summoned for on my character, and ideally, they wouldn't make these kind of characters at all, but they are. So, yeah. Let's talk about Mulaney. Mulaney, I got her on a rerun. For a long time, I would say that she was worse than Nevi. Quickly, as soon as I got her on a rerun and I actually used this character, not even a chance that I think she was worse than Nevi. Maybe when she first launched without Mavwika. But with Mavwika, this character is super easy to play. Just destroys everything. Does, 3 million... can she? I forget the exact numbers, but she can do very, very strong damage, and damage that's better than Nevi by far. Kinich is a character that I actually got insanely lucky with, and I actually got 2-in-1 multi. So I ended up getting his C1 instead of his weapon, although I don't know if I would have gotten his weapon anyways. Kinich is a character that I'm not really that impressed with and not that enamored with overall. Just is a good character. He does good damage for, when you need him to be, when you need a burn character, which you do. There are are specific enemies that want to have burn characters now. That is kind of just what you see. So he is a good character for that, but overall, in terms of using, you know, a character as my actual DPS, I'm not really going to be doing Knicht for that. Now, Shilonen. Shilonen is a character that she's probably the best Natlan design character, right? I love this design. This character looks amazing. I've always loved Geo, if you can't tell. Like, I got Zhongli as my, you know, first character. I used him as my main DPS for over a year. I, you know, got Itto C2R1. Yeah, if you can see, I definitely like Geo, right? And the only times I've skipped Geo is with Navia, who I summoned Furina instead, and I didn't have the exact funds for Navia. And then, obviously, you know, Chiori I skipped out of anger, mainly, because she didn't buff Itto at all. But then we have this character, beautiful design, amazing, like, kit overall. I love this character. So I C2'd her. And that's kind of where she's been at. This character, I mean, I would say throughout Natlan, she's been the #1 support. In some, after Skirk's release, she was tied for #1, I would say. And now we are seeing a downtrend in using her, because honestly, if I'm going into Stygian, you know, I now have a team that directly doesn't really benefit from having her. And I have a couple teams that don't benefit from having her with Lauma. I have a couple teams now that don't necessarily benefit from using, you know, Shilonen's buffs and stuff. So she's starting to really, you know, age, I would say. Yeah, I guess age. But she's also just, it's not that she's aging, it's that she's just not being useful on some teams, right? So aging versus, like, just kind of her kit isn't useful for these new teams. I feel like she's going to go downwards. But that's also very easily sayable for Furina also. Furina, damage bonus, again, is her entire kit, basically, but she loses it, right? I would say it's a tough one to say, but I definitely am not using Shilonen nearly as much in this version update as, you know, previously. Because, right, previously I'd be like, all right, we're using, you know, Shilonen on this version update now, right? Like, it's as simple as that. Basically, every team that I made in 5.0 had Shilonen on it. It was so much that she was my, I think, she was my #1 used character in all of Natlan. I'm pretty sure throughout the whole year, she was the #1 used character. It might have been Mavuika, but I feel like it was Shilonen. I feel like it was. But yeah, so C2R1 Shilonen, and then we get to Chaska, who I accidentally get out of summoning for Auroron. It happens a couple times. It happened 3 times now. I regretted it at first, but or maybe I didn't. I don't remember, actually. I either or. I haven't really cared about this character since. I really like her. She's been very useful, but as someone who has all the characters, for my account specifically, the amount of value she provides is like, there's a certain level of, like, you need all the characters for her, right? That's #1 rule. You need all the characters for her. But if you have all the characters for her, she's still mid, right? It's not like you unlocked the Konami code or whatever it's called. You know, it's not like you unlock some insane value out of her when you have all these characters. Really, all you do is just realize she's not that insanely valuable, and you summoned for all these characters. The real value is the characters you summoned along the way, is what I'm trying to say. There you go. Now we have Sealali, who I actually got for, you know, Mavuika. Oh my god, nobody would have guessed. But I got Sealali for Mavuika, and, well, I got her weapon just recently when she got her rerun on whatever banner that was. I forget whose weapon banner do I keep summoning on? Did Lauma? Whose weapon banner did I summon on? No, it wouldn't have been Lauma. It would have had to been at the end. Was it Inefa? It was Inefa. It was, in fact, Inefa's weapon banner. I got Sealali's weapon, which, you know, whatever. Yeah. I didn't C2 my Sealali, which if I had, oh my god, people would not have been able to hear about how insane Mavuika is enough. C2 Sealali plus C2 Mavuika is probably going to be utterly insane. I do wonder what they expect to happen with Columbina, because I mean, C2 Miss Coffee C2 Miss Coffee is pretty good, right? It is. It's a Shenhe buff. It's like a 3-time Shenhe buff or something. But yeah, we'll see on that one. But these insane characters, I mean, we saw Sealali's constellation. The entire reason why Sealali was so good is because of Mavuika, right? They needed to make Sealali that good because of Mavuika. So So yeah, and then the character that released right next to her, who I've mentioned throughout this video constantly, Mavuika. She's C2R1, by far the strongest character on my account, not even close. Like, C2 Skirk did not age as well, or did not grow as well as a C2R1 Mavuika, because Mavuika has to do all the damage herself. Skirk, simply put, Skirk is a team character, right? She does do quite a bit of her own damage, but characters like Miss Coffee here do also do damage on her team, along with Furina, and that really, really, changes the way that things go down. So yeah, I ended up, getting Mavuika to C2R1 because she was just so insane, and with her support abilities at C2, I do think at C2R1, until Skirk released, this character, compared to other C2R1 support characters, might have been the best character in the game. Like in terms of support, she might have been before Skirk released, because before Miss Coffee released, I guess. Because Miss Coffee is what made, Mavuika not so very great for a lot of characters. Although Miss Coffee alone, a C2 Mavuika on a team where you have Cryo applied and Bennett does like 1.2 million. So yeah, maybe she still was the best support. I don't know. But yeah, she was very strong. Mavuika at C2R1 is insanely strong. And then we have Verissa, or I guess we have Mizuki, who I skipped because obviously she's a standard banner. She'll come to me at some point. I was going to pick her with the 5-star selector until they did the whole level 100 thing, and then I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But yeah, Verissa here is a character that I summoned on, like, no doubt that I was going to summon on this character. I think at this point, I had decided that from now on, I'm going to get every single character in the game. I think that's what I decided, because I was like, yeah, I really like these characters, and I'm just going to keep getting all of them, because we were starting to see a real trend in, like, characters being basically necessities on certain teams. And that's just how power creep was going to be, because imagine, Bennett was always pretty insane for, like, any team that skilled Pyro. But, like, imagine if, like, Xing Cho was still useful for, like, characters like, Mavuika, right? If that was the case, like, it was still, like, one of the best options, right? Like, just keep that in mind. One of the best options. You're talking about such insane power creep to get to the Mavuika level numbers that they want. Mavuika would have to have such high raw numbers, it just wouldn't be good, right? It wouldn't be good for the game, kind of, because at any point, this character gets slightly buffed, her numbers are shooting through the roof again, and they would just have to power creep even more. Whereas if they make dedicated supports that lock a lot of the abilities of Mavuika behind a dedicated support, and then they can split up the sort of power of Mavuika by having you have to have 2 characters, then, you have to have that opportunity cost, or is it opportunity cost? You have the opportunity cost, whatever. Opportunity cost of getting rid of Seatlolly to add a new character. So they can sort of adjust how much a character really gets power, right? Now, a character like Anefa and Flens, you still have 2 team slots to get rid of, so it's not really that much of an opportunity cost, but Flens isn't that insane, right? But yeah, that's kind of one of the good things that they've done, or that is become of the, we have 2 5-stars now for every 5-star, right? But yeah, Verissa overall is just an insane Electro DPS. I'm surprised that they released Flynn so, like, close to her. Like, if we're talking, like, she was, like, 3 updates ago, right? Like, she was, like, 3 updates ago? Pretty insane. But Verissa, she's very strong. I have her at number, 3 in the game, right? Before Mulaney. She just feels like a slightly weaker, more consistent version of Mulaney, because Mulaney, the reason why I don't call her consistent is because her burst, right? Her burst has to land, and her burst doesn't a lot of times crit because you run out of Obsidian Codex's passive unless you use it at the very end of the rotation, which at that point it's like, you're losing a lot of the buffs that you even had for your burst, and then it's a whole thing. So it's an issue. And then we have Miss Coffee here, which, I got C1 in a heartbeat. Miss Coffee had 60% crit damage as her C1. I don't think I need to explain that anymore. That's insane. They just did that for her. It's insane. But yeah, this character was a must summon due to knowing that Skirk was coming out after her. You have to. You have to get Miss Coffee if you wanted Skirk, right? And then we have Skirk, obviously. I have her C2R1, just like Mavuika, because I wanted her to match Mavuika. And the one thing I will say is, though, didn't really land, right? C2 Skirk was not that insane. I really thought C2 Skirk was going to have, oh, we're going to do 5 million damage with the rotation where I do the burst at the beginning of, Skirk's rotation, and then I do normals afterwards. That didn't happen. That sadly did not happen, and that's a huge issue I have with Skirk. This, it should be, Skirk will gain 10 additional. Yeah, this should be more. It should be more like 15, because she wants this burst to hit insanely hard, and the only way to do it is to get extra Serpent Subtlety bonus, right? So this should have what this should have done is literally max out her Serpent Subtlety and given her a max burst, and then allowed you to continue from there. Because the amount of damage you could get with this burst would have legitimately rivaled her with Mavuika, right? But because they didn't do that, she doesn't rival Mavuika, right? She doesn't. So sadly, that's just what happened. But yeah, C2 Skirk, not necessarily my best investment, but it is an investment that I made. Then I guess we have Anefa next. And then here we have Anefa. Listen, we knew what kind of heat was coming when they showed Flynn. I looked at that boy and I was like, all right, let's get prepared. And I got an FSC 1R1. And very clearly, that was a good choice. Because looking at, with Anefa versus without, it goes from 900,000 or maybe a million to 1.5 million. Anefa being a 50% damage increase was a pretty insane idea, right? It's overall just a really insane, really crazy thing to see. So, and then Lauma here. We do have Lauma. She is on her current event weapon banner. I probably should raise this up a little bit, to get it up and do stuff with it, but I don't. But yeah, she's on the event weapon banner. For a lot of the showcases, I did use C. Lolly's weapon with her. So yeah, and then she's also been on Deepwood for a little bit. I'm not really too like, oh my god, I have to get Lauma's weapon, or I had to get Lauma's weapon. It's too late now if I wanted to. But I really was waiting for Flynn's. This guy, I still haven't had time to sit down and really take this guy against the elements, but I'm very excited to see how he destroys Stakina with C1R1. I am. And genuinely, I have thought about getting the C2, but I do want to kind of save the C2 so I can go ahead and come back to it when we have Columbina. But at the same time, I could get C2 and have very fun time. It's a little tough. But yeah, that's my account. I don't know how much it's worth. I've been adding it up over the course of the video. How long have I been recording? I've been recording for an hour. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's end this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.